Hey, you doing? Ed from Paranormal Inc., Ohio. Want to wish everybody a good evening. Hope everybody's having a great day. I'm here to do another video, another ghost story, but I did a twist. Instead of it being a hunt that I have done personally, I'm here to tell you about an urban legend called the Black-Eyed Children. The Black-Eyed Children have been here since the early 90s. I've also read that they were here hundreds and hundreds of years before that, but the only stories I've ever found started in the early 90s. Now, let me give you a little piece of history of the Black-Eyed Children. The Black-Eyed Children are supposedly, they come in pairs. One will be in its teens and one will be in a adolescent form, like a 6-year-old, 7-year-old. They'll come to your home or your car, wherever you're at. Usually it's late at night, a weird time for kids to be outside. They'll knock on your door to your home or your car and ask you a series of questions if you can help them get somewhere or if you'll let them in. Whatever you do, don't let them in. It's what they want. Now, I've read countless stories about people who have ran into them and they didn't let them in, and as they went away, they just vanished. So I'll tell you one of those stories. And then I finally came across one from a couple in Vermont that came across the Black-Eyed Children and actually let them in. I will tell you that story as well. The first story. This man in the early 90s, I believe it was 1993, when the first Mortal Kombat movie came out, he had went late at night to see the last showing because that's when he got off work. He was sitting in his car, smoking a cigarette, getting ready to go inside. Then all of a sudden, two children came to his car, a teen and a child. They both knocked on his door, and as he looked, they had blacked out eyes, completely black. No irises, no pupils, it's just all black. And they asked him, "We forgot our money. Can you please take us just up the road to our house so we can get our money for the movie?" Well, the man thinking, this is odd for these kids to be out this late at night. He thought maybe it was an ambush, like he was going to help the kids, then somebody's going to jump him, rob him, whatever. And he told the children no, that they just need to go home. Well, they got a little bit more aggressive, pounding a little bit harder on the window, saying, let us in, please let us in. And now the man started to panic. And he says, "I'm leaving and you guys need to go home." So as he presses on the gas and tries to get out of there, the one teenage boy just bangs on the glass so hard it shatters the glass. And he's screaming, "Let me in, let me in." And as he was driving away, he said he looked in the rearview mirror and saw that they vanished. And that's all I've heard from him. Now, I will tell you the story about the couple that let them in Vermont. Years ago in Vermont, in the middle of nowhere. Now, before I say this, you guys can take this however you want. If it's true, if it's fake. I believe it's true. I have an open mind. But anyways, there was a couple in Vermont years ago. They lived in the middle of nowhere. And as they went to bed, they fell asleep. Then they heard a loud knock. And then another knock. And then another knock. And as she looked at the clock, it was 2 a.m. So he said, "I'll answer it. You stay here." So as he goes to the door, he opens the door and he notices there's two children. One looks like a teen, one looks like a child, but they're looking down. And they say, "We can't find our parents. Please help us." So then he says, "Okay, come in. I'll get my wife." So they come in, they sit down. He goes and tells his wife. His wife says, "Oh my God, I'll make some hot cocoa for them. They've got to be cold, scared because they can't find their parents. You go in there and talk to them while I do this." So as she makes the hot cocoa for the children and her husband and herself, she notices the family cat. Now, mind you, the family cat loves people. It loves new people. It loves any type of people. It wants to go, run to it, and play with them. But not these two. These two children made this cat hiss and growl very loudly and stare intensively at the children. So she shook it off and was like, "It's just a cat being a cat." She goes out there, and the husband had his face in his hands like this. And she said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And he rose his head up and he has a really bad nosebleed. And he says, I'm really dizzy. I don't understand what's going on." So she looks to give the cocoa to the children, and the children finally look up, and then they finally notice, because they've looked down this whole time, that the children have blacked out eyes. All black, again, no pupils, no irises, no anything. So they sit there for a minute, and the children say, "Can we use the bathroom, please?" The woman says, "Of course, go ahead." So they go to the bathroom, and about 30 seconds later, all the lights in the house just go off. So the woman starts wondering what's going on. Like, he's got a nosebleed. The lights in the house are turning off. I don't know what to do. She goes, I better get something for his nose. So she shakes it off and stumbles down the dark hallway to the bathroom. And as she's getting to the hallway, she notices the two children are standing in front of the doorway to their room, which has a window which the moonlight is illuminating in, showing their silhouettes. And as they're staring right back at her, and as she's staring at them, they go, oh good, our parents are here. And they run straight through her. They go outside, they open the door, and the woman sees two tall shadow figures. I don't say shadow figures as in shadow people, but I believe it was just so dark she couldn't see them. They were very tall and it was pitch black. So all she saw was the outline. They said, yay, mommy and daddy's here. So she waved at the two people, and they did nothing. They just continued to stand and stare. And as the children get in the car with the supposed parents, which I wouldn't have let them in the car with the people, but that's how the story goes. They went to the car with the supposed parents. They had drove off. Now the woman goes back inside, and she's talking to her husband. She said, supposedly it's their parents. They left with them. They got out of here before I could even do anything. And right as soon as she says that, the lights come back on. Everything's cool. He's no longer dizzy as much. They got the nosebleed under control. So they go to bed. They shrug it off. As the days continue on, weird things starts happening. They have outside cats as long as they're inside cat. The outside cats started disappearing one by one. They figured it was just, animals in the woods coming in and grabbing them. No. They came home one day after they went to dinner and found their house cat dead in a pool of its own blood. Again, they have no idea why. They clean it up. They bury the poor cat. And as days goes on, the husband gets sicker and sicker. So he goes to the doctor. The nosebleeds are bad. The dizziness is still there. They do some tests and they find out he has a very aggressive skin cancer. The only type of cancer you can get for the skin, the only way you get it is that you're in a tanning bed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Well, she looked at the doctor and said, we don't own a tanning bed and we don't go to tanning beds to tan. So the doctor was baffled. So they went home and he grew sicker and sicker. And then she began having nosebleeds and getting sicker and sicker and coming up with the same type of aggressive skin cancer that he has. There was other things that she said she saw. She said they were unspeakable. Things that had happened to her husband. So she never divulged those to the public. And that's one story of people that have let the black-eyed children in. The other story that I came across was a man who lived out in the wilderness. He had to go down a long path in the woods to get to his house. And he was a scientist, and he was obsessed with the black-eyed children. And he had come up with a thing where he said that a specific low-frequency sound can be played that lures the black-eyed children to you, like to your home or whatever. So he sets up his cameras on his outside porch around his house. He puts his laptop at the window with a giant speaker, and he plays this low-frequency sound. Night 1, nothing. Night 2, nothing. Night 3, again, nothing. Night 4, some more nothing. But night 5. Night 5, his camera caught a child standing at his door with what appeared to be blacked out eyes. This was at 3 o'clock in the morning. The child stood at the door for over an hour, just staring. As the child left, the man got up, went and looked to see what was going on, checked his camera, of course, and saw the child was there. Therefore, it frightened him, so he decided to take the laptop out, turn the sound off, but I think it was too late. Because later on he had said in the story where he was coming home late night, going down the path, and a child with black eyes came out of the woods and stared at him. And he said he drove off as fast can be. So, I hope you enjoyed these stories. I am going to mix it up now. We're going to do ghost stories of my hunts, and now we're going to do urban legend ghost stories that I will tell you about a certain urban legend and give you some facts, some research, and some stories behind it. The stories that I told you tonight, do you think they're real or fake? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it or what you have to say about the channel. I hope everybody's having a great night, and I will see you guys with the next one.